Minister of State for Investment Kaylis Roll says despite a perceived broken relationship between the developer of Baha Mar and the government, he summed it up as just the cost of doing business and is confident that the project will go on. We'll bring you those details coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Doctors lending a helping hand.
And the country welcomes a new Cuban ambassador. The Bahamas tonight. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The government tonight pushing for construction on the mega Baha Mar resort to start again in a matter of weeks. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. With the company now in receivership, the push is to remobilize the project to bring it to completion in the shortest possible time. And while there are still many differences between the various sides, one thing they all agree on is the move to complete Baha Mar. Our Clint Watson has more tonight on the way forward for the Bahamian Riviera.
If all goes as planned, construction on the mega Baha Mar resort should reconvene before Christmas. And while it will take some long hours for the receivers to sort through the enormous amount of work, government is convinced they'll make it happen. A senior government official speaking to ZNS News today says the receivers are busy getting their hands around the project and what stage it is at. They confirm that they're in dialogue with all the parties, including the China Export-Import Bank, with a view to come to a position of restarting and finishing the $3.5 billion resort. Recently, Prime Minister the Honorable Perry Christie alluded to the increase in costs to finish the resort due to the deterioration of the property, pushing the price tag from $300 million to $600 million. The senior government official says the receivers now have the mandate to ensure construction continues and is completed despite the cost. It's a move being fully supported by the China Exim Bank, whose priority before anything else is to protect the assets which they have a heavily vested interest in as a principal financial institution behind the project. Receivers this week have been busy assessing the situation and have expressed the understanding that construction should begin as soon as is possible. As to the move of receivership, the senior government official concedes that it was inevitable, considering the direction of talks and the nature of what had transpired over the past 6 months. He admitted that the China Exim Bank has every right to make this move, and after participating in negotiations, felt that in order to move the dialogue forward, this course of action had to be taken. Now, as to where this leaves Baha Mar investor Sarkis Ismailian is still up in the air. Yesterday, the originator of the Baha Mar project said himself the effect of this effort to send the company into receivership by the government of the Bahamas, China Construction America, and China Exim Bank now leaves Baha Mar in the position where China Exim Bank is now the owner of Baha Mar. Most of its employees have been laid off, widespread collateral damage to hundreds of businesses, and assets are being further impaired. And with this admission by Ismailian that he is out, speculation now looms as to who becomes the owner of the Bahamian Riviera if indeed the Armenian investor is no longer a part of the equation. As to whether he remains a party to the development, having invested his portion, again is still up in the air until the receivers have made a decision to the way forward. In the meantime, China Construction says they are remobilizing workers, have conducted assessments as to what needs to happen, and are ready at a moment's notice to restart work at the Cable Beach property. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
All right, Clint, thanks a lot. Ismailian's scathing comments have been described and summed up only as a distraction. The Minister of State for Investments addressing the Baha Mar saga says the opening of the multi-billion-dollar project is imminent, regardless of the blame game. And despite this, he tells our Janae Noel Ferguson, the investment climate in the country is thriving.
Now that the $3.5 billion Baha Mar investment is in receivership, Minister of State for Investments Kaylis Roll says there remains an interest from parties who would like to take over the project.
Well, parties have been interested in the project, and I think they have approached multiple parties to express their interest. But I can't say that the level of aggressiveness has increased because of this. But, you know, it's a project that has tremendous potential to contribute to the country.
Now, developer Sarkis Ismailian hit out at the government for what he described as failing to meet its promises to Baha Mar and accused the government of colluding with China Construction America and China Exim Bank to have Baha Mar's bankruptcy filing dismissed. It's not the first time he's lashed out at government, but the government has always asserted that bankruptcy filing in a U.S. court was not in the best interest of Bahamians. But the government recently shared its disappointment that some 2,000 employees had been laid off due to actions undertaken by the court-appointed provisional liquidators. Meantime, the Minister of State for Investment says, as in any relationship, there are issues. Now, according to Roll, the world-famous Atlantis Resort went through a similar phase, and that did not mean doomsday for the mega project.
This isn't the first project that hit a brick wall. Remember, quite recently, the Atlantis had some issues that went through a similar type process with the transfer of ownership from Sasol Kersner to Brookfield Asset Management. And in the course of doing business, you find that these things happen. You try to manage them as best you can, and you always look to what the next step is to continue to contribute to the growth and development of the country.
And despite the many challenges related to the Baha Mar project, Roll says investor confidence in the country remains strong.
I believe that there is still an opportunity for us to continue to do business with international investors. This is just one incident. It doesn't define the climate for investment in the Bahamas, and it doesn't define who we are as a people.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNAS Network News.
Well, all eyes are on the $3.5 billion Baha Mar resort as developments continue to unfold. C.S. Galley talked to the chamber chairman about the project and the new turn of events.
Chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, Gowan Bowe, says it will be important for Bahamians to watch how developments at Baha Mar play out because it could impact the country's economic development. He believes the resort's opening had been inappropriately dubbed the economic saving grace rather than an economic boost. And while the Bahamas hasn't seen massive growth, Bowe says the destination has been able to maintain growth. But what does this all mean for our credit rating moving forward, which has taken quite a hit in recent times?
The receivership may spur on the activity to the point where there's a clear path to opening or a clearer path to opening, and so from that perspective it'll be positive. Certainly the rating agency had sort of indicated when the opening date would come on would be a key factor in what they do going forward. So I wouldn't want to become overly panicked at this point in time. What is important is for us to highlight the other things that are taking place that keep us in sort of a steady state.
But the Chamber executive maintains the next 6 months will be crucial for the Bahamas to get ducks lined in a row in order to present to the rating agencies.
Most of them had said 6 months following the developments, and that was around September, so come March of next year, we're really going to have a big task in order to demonstrate to them that we are doing the things necessary in order to keep ourselves in the investment grade. And having Hurricane Joaquin come through is not one that we're not going to face from time to time, but it certainly does put us on the back burner. So we have quite a lot to do, and that's why I said it needs to be a united front. We can air our dirty laundry internally, but when we look to our outside neighbors and persons who are analyzing what we do, we need to be very focused on one united voice.
Meantime, Bowe says the country can't lose sight of the other economic pillar, financial services, which is under tremendous threat.
Unfortunately, the saga of our tourist product has deflected attention away from that, but we have to be very mindful that financial services, which has been the prop when we had challenges in tourism, is under the amount of attacks that it is from tax nations, from changes in products, from innovation, and from us being creative enough to keep our niche market and grow it. And if we don't do that, as an economy, we're going to be drastically underperforming. And from that perspective, we have to all be mindful and remember that we're all Bahamian. So it doesn't matter the partisan politics. At the end of the day, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
And as the Baha Mar saga unfolds, Bo is encouraging Bahamians to remain united while a resolution is reached to ensure the Bahamian Riviera is open in the shortest possible time. C.S. Gowderly, ZNS Network News.